I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I do think it's really, really important we continue to have the conversation on this show about the most dangerous development going on in the United States of America right now. What is that development? Well, let's pause for a moment. Think about a historical monster, somebody you hate, someone everyone hates. Of course, one of the first names is going to be Hitler or Stalin or Mao. These are the names that are probably going to be on the forefront of your mind. Ivan the Terrible, maybe, if you're a bit of a throwback. Okay, you hate them. Why do you hate these guys? Well, Jesse, they killed all these people. They did? Did Hitler actually kill all those innocent Jews? Did Stalin go murder all those Soviet citizens? Mao, was he a busy little boy, just fingers getting cramps out there shooting all those Chinese people? Ivan the Terrible even. Was he out there personally slaughtering his own people? No, they weren't. You see, in the end, these evil people need someone to pull the trigger, swing the sword, run the death camps. What I'm getting at is this. You as an American, me as an American, do not fully appreciate the absolute terror that comes with having a state-run police that is completely corrupt and operating at the behest of the regime. They are, in the end, the ones who pull the trigger and run the camps. It's the state-run police you need to be very, very, very worried about. And I am officially at the stage of being very, very, very worried. You see, you remember when parents were getting upset at school boards and they're going down there yelling because they don't want their kids learning about critical race theory in school. They don't want their kids learning gender, queer, perverse, disgusting stuff in school. They just want their kids to get a decent education. And the Biden administration, well, they decided they didn't like that. It was making their teachers' unions look bad. So the Biden administration directs the Attorney General, the top law enforcement officer in the United States of America, to attack these parents. The Attorney General then sicks the FBI on concerned parents. Remember, the FBI recently has admitted they're not even looking into Antifa or Black Lives Matter, but they are not only going after concerned parents, we now have a whistleblower. There's a report that shows on October 20th, the heads of the FBI instructed the counter-terrorism divisions to flag all assessments and investigations into potential criminal threats, harassment, and intimidation of educators with a threat tag. Yes, that's right. The FBI counter-terrorist unit was talking about concerned parents. Are you worried yet? You should be. And here's the Attorney General of the United States of America lying under oath before Congress.
Does that seem like an act of domestic terrorism that you or your Justice Department ought to be investigating?
Absolutely not. And I want to be clear, the Justice Department supports and defends the First Amendment right of parents to complain as vociferously as they wish about the education of their children, about the curriculum taught in the schools. That is not what the memorandum is about at all, nor does it use the words domestic terrorism or Patriot Act. Like you, I can't imagine any circumstance in which the Patriot Act would be used in the circumstances of parents complaining about their children, nor can I imagine a circumstance where they would be labeled as domestic terrorism.
Oh, except that's exactly what he did. He then promptly briefed the counterterrorism heads of the FBI, who then acted on these parents. Are you worried yet? You better be. Because if the Federal Bureau of Investigation is now officially the enforcement arm of the regime, we are in very, very, very deep trouble. Oh, and do keep in mind, he's directly tied to critical race theory. His son-in-law runs a company that pushes it. I'm not making that up. And it's funny, I mentioned Antifa and Black Lives Matter, and we're told all the time that these parents are potentially domestic terrorists and white supremacists. There's all these white supremacists. You don't know any, but they're all hiding right around the corner over there. They're a big concern. Ooh, anything could happen. They're not even looking into people who say things like this. I wonder why.
I've got over 1,000 soldiers ready to go.
We're not the board. He shouldn't be
What
yelling
time
at us. He's acknowledging because
I don't care.
yeah, we're the police.
My First Amendment rights. My First Amendment rights are here.
The board is in front of you. Not me. If you want to talk to me, I'd be happy to talk to you. But you're not
You will not
gonna yell
challenge
at me.
us.
In case you missed that in the beginning, I've got 1,000 soldiers ready to go. FBI isn't even looking into them. Didn't even get a phone call. Oh, but if you're upset about critical race theory, be careful. They might come knocking on your door. This had better make you very, very uncomfortable. And I'm glad, look, we're going to get Jim Jordan on to talk about this soon, but I'm glad he's all over it.
This scenario where on September 29th, a left-wing political organization writes the President of the United States saying, we want you to get the FBI involved in spying on parents, setting up a dedicated line of threat communication, a snitch line on parents. 5 days later, a memo goes out. He comes and testifies, looks like he said something that wasn't true to this committee. And the very next day, think about this, I've never seen this in all my time in Washington. The very next day, the organization that started this whole thing in progress, they apologize for the initial letter that started it all. They withdraw the letter. And you guys won't join us in wanting to, we need the Attorney General back sitting right at that chair answering our questions. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of something we all went through 10 years ago. This reminds me of when the IRS targeted people, and then it wasn't called a threat tag, then it wasn't called a terrorist tag, no, then it was called the BOLO list. Be on the lookout list. If you said the wrong thing in this country, the IRS, Lois Lerner, the IRS puts you on a list, much like what we see the FBI doing now, thanks to this brave whistleblower who came forward.
Thanks indeed. And anyone else at the FBI wants to come forward, now is the time. Now is the time. Believe me when I tell you, it gets worse from here if this organization is not exposed for what it has sadly become, because it is scary. The FBI has the power. Remember, every person watching me right now, the FBI has the power to destroy your life. Like that, if they want to. It's a big deal. Hey, thanks so much for watching the first on YouTube. If you liked what you saw, go ahead and like and subscribe. You heard me. Like it, subscribe. You'll get a lot more of it and a lot more of me.